Unit 2, page 14. Listening. Exercise 2. Extract 1. You hear part of an interview with a woman who's writing a series of guides about traditional food.
I understand that your series of food guides is written to help tourists abroad find places where they can sample the authentic traditional food of that country.
Essentially, you're right, but it's a little more than that. Yes, the guides list particular places to eat, but I've also included sections on the history of the dishes too. You know, how all the favourite dishes have developed and why, and also how they've changed over the years.
Why do you think tourists need a guide like this?
A country's food is part of its identity, and a visitor to that country should be able to find places where they can eat what the inhabitants eat, and in some places, observe the customs associated with mealtimes. You can't find this in the big hotels and restaurants. Everything is adapted to the foreigner's taste. That's why my series focuses on the small, difficult-to-find places that the locals go to. I also think it's interesting to learn something about the history of traditional dishes, and for me, the way table manners differ from country to country is quite fascinating.
Extract 2. You hear two people talking about customs from their childhood.
It seems strange, but one of the most important moments of my childhood was when I discovered the tooth fairy didn't exist.
The tooth fairy?
I'm not sure whether this is a British thing or whether other countries have a similar custom. You know, when you're little and your tooth falls out, you put it under your pillow at night and the tooth fairy takes it and leaves you some money. Of course, it's your parents really, but it's magical for kids.
Yes, but you have to be fast asleep in your bed.
That's right. My parents were very good at keeping up the custom, and for years I believed it. One year, I remember, we were on holiday in Greece and I lost a tooth. I was so worried that the tooth fairy didn't work there, but she came and left me some money. A few years later, when I found out it had been my mother all along, I was devastated. I've kept up the tradition with my children, though, because I think these beliefs are a really important part of your childhood.
Extract 3. You hear part of an interview with a tour guide from Australia.
Ayers Rock, or Uluru, as the Aborigines call it, is situated in the National Park and is run by the local Aborigines. It is the world's largest single block of stone and has a circumference of 8 kilometres. It's considered one of the great wonders of the world. Depending on the time of day and the weather, the rock can dramatically change colour, and it's a very popular place with artists and tourists alike.
And can people climb the rock?
It can be climbed, but not by outsiders. It's all to do with respecting the Aborigines. They believe that the area around the rock is inhabited by their ancestors. They also think that the rock is hollow underground and that it contains a special energy source. They believe that the path up the rock was the traditional route taken by their ancestors, and today it is associated with important ceremonies. They also feel they have a duty to ensure the safety of visitors and would feel terrible if anything happened to a tourist while climbing. So, no tourists don't climb the rock.